looking for smaller pictures. And we found some little critters.
Shabbat Shalom.
Wonderful, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Got a photo?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I have
How about
to
you?
finish that up here.
So, what are you?
I was just
They're fidgets.
about it.
Different, right?
There you go.
Oh, no, they're not, it's the same.
Hi.
The same. Yeah.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Lauren, I'm Mitch. My wife, Elizabeth, and Mary Vincent.
And I'm Sherry.
Sharon.
Welcome.
We're students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here for a class. One of my classes requires me to visit different work institutions. So
Okay.
I'm here to take notes and learn more about
How are you, Henry?
All right.
So I'm
Okay.
Jewish.
So are y'all gonna build a house?
From Los Angeles. Did you say Los Angeles? I'm the rabbi's husband. I'm from Los Angeles.
Small
Actually,
world.
Rabbi. And,
From what area?
I grew up in, it was called Beverville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
It was not terribly good back in 1949 and 50 when I was born and raised there, but obviously Pico Robinson,
Yes,
makes
that's-
it carry.
That's my area.
Is it
Where
really?
your house of birth is.
I'm Beverly Hills. My house is like right.
When you get to the
So are you familiar with Steve Preston?
You tried to do that in 2000.
That was where I was born. Wow. Go figure that. I'm John. Lawrence, so are you both in university?
Yeah, I'm not Jewish, but yeah, I don't really know anything about it. I'm excited to learn, and yeah, I was glad I was able to go as part of my project.
Good. So we're glad that you are studying.
How are you?
I just work at it.
Okay.
Are you taking the Islam class?
Oh, yeah, I'm taking a class at LSU. It's like the Abrahamic religions of Judaism. That's Hannah Moore.
Of all the
1 second. 1 second. So John, you going into my office? Okay. So when we're doing
I'm studying history of religious studies.
I don't need you to do anything with it other than just a great. That's what happened. Well, we have panic buttons now, but I'm not sure if that sort of ringing that we were hearing in the hallway, that's because the frequency of panic buttons is interfering with people's. We're ready to roll.
I am.
You want to start with the music?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, put something a little peppier.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shalom.
I was thinking, the weather was so nice today, we really could have done services outside, but we didn't advertise it, and we have to do different technology if we're outside versus inside. So anyways, thank you for coming inside, and air conditioner is working again. It wasn't working this morning. So anyway, welcome to our Shabbat service. We are going to continue near the back of our prayer books on page 647 at the very bottom with the singing of Ozi v'zimrat Yah. Adonai is my strength and might. God will be my salvation.
Ozi v'zimrat Yah, vayli lishua. 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 Ozi v'zimrat Yah, vayli lishua.
we'll continue with our candle lighting on page 121 and page 120. I'd like to invite one of our visitors tonight, Hannah. And her friend Lauren, right? Okay, I'm not good with names, so let's begin with one of the English readings. One of the English readings on page 121. Your choice.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us find knowledge by which to live. Let us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. Shabbat Shalom.
Turns out that Hannah lives in the neighborhood that John grew up in Los Angeles.
Like within a few blocks.
Very small world. Very.
Few years apart. I'm not a time traveler yet.
We'll continue on page 124 with the reading at the top of the page, and let's read together. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. We continue on page 130 with the singing of L'chuneranana.
And we will just do the first verse. L'chuneranana, l'chuneranana, l'chuneranana l'Adonai. L'chuneranana, l'chuneranana, l'chuneranana l'Adonai. Naria, naria, לצור ישנו, נקדמה פניו בתודה. נריה, נריה, לצור ישנו, בזמירות נריה לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני.
Continue on page 138 with the singing of L'chadodi, a gift of the mystics that lived in Tzfat in Israel, who would go out into the field to all dressed in white to welcome the Shabbat bride, the Shabbat queen, and so we have images of both. And so as we sing together, we invite the Shabbat bride and queen into our into our hearts and into our sanctuary tonight. And as usual, we'll be singing stanzas 1, 2, 5, and 9. And just before 9, we'll rise and face our door as we poetically and metaphorically welcome the Shabbat bride and queen into our hearts and our sanctuary.
And I'm thinking that I'm impoverished because I don't have Zach and Lilia here to accompany me. This is the Craig Taubman version of Lecha Dodi, sometimes referred to as the New Orleans Mardi Gras version, other times referred to as the Roaring Twenties version, but you'll get the idea. You're
You
familiar
know
with
it.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor bezachor bediבור echad, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, בשם ולתפארת ולתהילה, לה 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 לה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לה 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 לה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לה 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 לה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום. Oh, I'm sorry.
Not yet.
I just did that.
You just did that. Okay, I wasn't listening to you, I guess. Okay.
גם בשמחה
No.
ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי כלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לה 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 לה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. I lost my count, I guess, when you were singing, John.
That was a test.
Well, we'll continue on 142 with the singing of Shalom Aleichem. Of course, this imagery that on Shabbat we have an angel on each of our shoulders that protects us as we go home at night. And I like to think of those angels as protecting us for all of Shabbat. So it's wonderful imagery.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Buachem leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Does anybody else need a prayer book? Okay, good. I think because they're in the hallway if anybody needs one, and we can bring one in for you. And we'll continue on page 144 with the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן.
We continue on page 147 with the reading at the top of the page. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There's one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song.
Nevarech. Let us bless.
Page 146, we find the Baruch Hu, our call to worship. If it's comfortable to do so, please rise in body, if not in spirit alone.
Ya la la, ya la 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 la.
Please be seated. We continue on page 148, and before we read the Ma'ariv Aravim together in the Hebrew, as we praise God for the wonders of creation, I invite you to think to yourselves silently what it is in the natural world that is quintessentially spring that you have noticed in the last week. Let's read together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam,
אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים,
ומסדר את הכוכבים
שמותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה, כולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר בין יום ובין לילה,
ומבדיל בין
בין יום ובין לילה.
אדוני צבאות שמו,
אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
Page 150, we praise God for the gift of Torah.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Page 152, we now declare the uniqueness, the oneness, the unity of the mystery of the universe that we call God.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please join us in chanting the Vayahafta, page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We continue with our Song of Freedom, Michamocha, page 158.
Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 יא לה 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 לה. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We continue on page 160. Let's read the Hashkivenu in English together. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We turn to page 164 for the beginning of the Amidah. If it's comfortable to do so, please rise.
Adonai sefatai kifach ufia gitenilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Vimotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor והנורא, ערב נאום, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה מפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן הרפא ותחת שרה. אתה גיבור בעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לרגשי עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך מליט ומחיה. ישועה, ונאמנת להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
The top of page 171. We read together. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever you gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You continue the Amidah silently to page 178, and feel free to be seated whenever you're ready.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון, לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון, לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Baruch atah Adonai, levarecha d'amo Yisrael, b'shalom. We take a moment for silent reflection, and then we'll continue on page 180.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי.
At this time in our service, we'll offer a prayer for healing, a Mishra Berach, for those in need of healing of the body, the mind, or the spirit. We turn to page 371. We could mention all of our names, having been living through the last 2 years of COVID. So, but I will say, in addition to each and every one of us that's had a less than normal year or 2 years, there are some people in our community who need some extra special prayers as well this Shabbat. And so I mentioned the names of Joy Lewis, Lucy Silva, Christine Weil, Minabat Yentl, Mordechai Bendina, Rowan Hausman, Anna Carlo, Judy Roheim, Fredel Tamara Batliba Bela, Merecha Pesa Bat Charni Moshe, Yosef Ben Fega, Gretchen Haynes, Dorian Reeson, Bob Smith, and Steve Sinkoff. Are there any additional names that you would like to mention at this time of those that you know that need our prayers for healing? Thank you.
Chief Sherelle Parfait Dardar and her family, Leslie Barnard, Ron Johnson, Lindy Johnson, Karen Sue Amon, Jennifer Tibbin.
We also are mindful of all of Ukrainians, whether or not they are still living in their country or have had to flee to safety elsewhere. We keep them in our hearts every day. As we join together in the middle of page 371, we pray for a healing of the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We also are going to be announcing the coming of the new month, so we turn to page 379 for the new month of ER. And let's read together in the English in the middle of the page. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. So Rosh Chodesh Iyar Yeh B'Yom Rishon B'Yom Sheni. The new month of Iyar will begin on Sunday and Monday. Only in Judaism would we have 2 days of the first day of the month. So we can explain the calendar at some other time, but you know, it's kind of like there's 29 and a half days, so what do you do, right? Okay, so we're going to do, in honor of what was last week, of Earth Day, I remember when I was a senior in high school, 1970, I know I'm dating myself, was the first Earth Day ever. And so we have a couple of Jewish texts to share, and I know we're going to have to share them because, my goodness, we have a nice group tonight. So if you're sitting with a family member, I'm going to ask you to share. And while I'm passing these out, is there anybody besides Hannah and Lauren who are worshiping with us for the first time tonight? Okay.
Welcome, Hannah and Lauren.
His goals. Did you keep one for us?
And none to spare, yes.
So where'd you come up? Okay. So I just think, so it's the 52nd anniversary of Earth Day, and that was, it was last Friday. Last Sunday, there were a number of things that were going on in New Orleans. John was down there for one of the happenings. I just thought that we didn't get to do this together last week, so we're doing it together this week. So a few texts, because, our attitude about everything in life is supposed to be informed by the Torah. And so, just wanted, and we do have a question at the end for discussion, but would somebody like to read the first text under the Torah says, plan for the future? This one's from Midrash Talmud.
Even if the land is full of all good things, you still must plant. Even if you are old, you must plant. Just as you found trees planted by others, you must plant them for your children.
Thank you. Thank you. And when somebody reads, you go to in the conflict. Nice little voice.
Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai used to say, if you have a sapling in your hand, and someone should say to you that the Messiah has come, stay and complete the planting
examples that we might possibly come up with. So it's an opportunity. You know, I mean, Earth Day is only once a year, but actually in Judaism, our teachings are not just, you know, once a year. There are teachings year round. But to think about what it is that is realistic, that you can do, you know, in your own household. And then for some people love to advocate for changes of things. And so I'm thinking, Savannah, we talked about single-use plastic. There are places in the country that are starting to outlaw them. I think New York City is one of them. That you know, when we have at home these mesh bags that you can use like produce, you know, to take them with you. You just have to remember to put them in the car when you go to the grocery store. And so now we just keep them in the car. But there are things that we can do, and some things are much more difficult to figure out the solutions to. And you know, John and I had a discussion this morning when we were coming over to Shabbat. Is like in the old days, like maybe like when we were kids. I don't remember things like cheese ever being wrapped in something other than plastic. But before plastic, it must have been, I don't know, wrapped in paper. You know, I just don't remember that. So part of it is, you know, having that memory of how did we do everything before plastic? How did we survive? And what's absolutely necessary and what's not? And because you do things over and over again. So.
And one of the arguably the most important reason to use as little plastic as possible and phase out plastic where you can is that plastic is made from petroleum. And so that is obviously a carbon-intensive generation of a commercial product. A lot of plastic is.
I'm so sorry. Make sure your sunscreen is reef safe. Reef safe, that's really important. Most physical sunscreens are sunscreens with, I think it's titanium oxide and zinc oxide. Those are reef safe, but a lot of them are like chemical sunscreens with the chemical filters instead of the physical filters are destroying coral reefs.
Okay. So there are so many things that we have to think about that sometimes it can feel overwhelming. It's sort of like, okay, so I can't use anything, I can't go anywhere, you know. But part of it is if we encourage people to label things so that you know that they're sustainable, right, and that they're safe for the whole environment.
And you can do things, and you can go places. You just have to, the whole point of this is that, and the whole point of Earth Day is to be mindful of what you're doing and what you're consuming and what its impact is. And there are lots of ways to navigate in a very healthy way.
Yeah. So thank you for your ideas, and hopefully keep thinking. Feel free to take the text home with you. Thank you for all of your ideas. Appreciate it. So we're now going to turn back to our prayer books. Page 570. Anybody know what this is that's sitting here on top of the, Oh, you read ahead. So there are different ways that you can count the Omer. You can get an email every day, you know, from all kinds of different Jewish organizations. You can go online and find, you know, the Bart Simpson Omer counter. This one actually comes from Jerusalem at Meir Cohen Limited store. So page 570. Let's start reading in the English together. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. So my Omer counter has, you just turn it for each day. Hayom arba'a asar yom shahem sheni shuvuot l'Omer. So today is the 14th day, which is 2 weeks of the Omer. And does anybody know that we started counting the Omer the second night of Passover? Do you remember when we count for 49 days, what Jewish holiday it takes us to? Shavuot. Great, okay.
And as I learned when my wife was in her first year of rabbinical school in Israel,
all of her male classmates stopped shaving at the very beginning of Omer and did not shave again until Shavuot. Who knew?
Scruffy-looking class. So we'll continue with the Elenu, page 586. Anybody under the age of 13 like to open the Ark tonight? If so, come on up. If it's comfortable to do so, please rise as we open the Ark. With the help of our future.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל העולם. ואנחנו עולים ומשתחווים עולים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא לארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגופם אלוהים, הוא אלוהינו אחד, אמת מלכנו ופסולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. ונאמר, וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Jacob wanted to know what the Torah on the far right was, and some of you may wonder too. That's our Sephardic Torah that has only one roller instead of two rollers, and it's in the wood case. And I promised him we would open it up sometime for him to see. We continue on page 595 as we prepare for the mourner's Kaddish tonight. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. The Kaddish is on page 598. On this Shabbat, we are in the period of Shloshim for Moni Meyer, and the period of Shana for Elaine Garver, Donald Ostern, Wallace Dunham, Michael Carpenter, Jimmy Brownleader, Mark Cohn, Lorraine Beverly Sclaver, Judy Waxman, Miriam Mimi Grossman, Elizabeth Saxey, Marvin Bender, Dr. Robert Feldman, Jerry Harold Chenevert, Sheila Parker, Francis Edelman, Jean London Eisenbach, Fred Cantor, Insa Abram, Megu Clegg, Eileen Burton, Virginia Gordon, Jim Bullman, and Arby Dickerson. And between this Shabbat and next Shabbat, we are observing Yartzites for Caroline Asanovsky, Elizabeth Lehman During, Murray Efras, Ione Gomelski, E.B. Markovitz, Michael Novick, Dorothy Smith Plausch, and Alphonse Weil. Are there any additional names to be added to the Kaddish list, or the pronunciation of any names to be corrected?
We're in Shloshim for the pianist Radu Lupu.
We also think of those who died in the Holocaust at this time, who may not have anyone to say the Kaddish for them. Zikronam Livracha, may each of their memories be for a blessing as we now join together as a congregation to support the mourners among us. And please either remain seated or stand according to your tradition.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra chirutei, Yamlich malchutei, V'chai echon v'yom echon, V'chai dechol Beit Yisrael, V'agala u'bizman kariv ve'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei Kudesha berichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, Da'amiran be'alma ve'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen.
Oseh Shalom b'imromav, Hu ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And together we say,
Amen.
Please be seated, and we will continue with announcements. I believe, Heather, you're going to be sharing announcements with us tonight. Thank you very much. And then after our closing song, we will have Kiddush and Motzi on Friday night in the foyer. It's been a while.
Shabbat Shalom. So some of our announcements that we have tonight start off with tomorrow. At 9:30, there will be a Torah study here at Jefferson Highway in person and on Zoom. At 10 a.m., there'll be a Shabbat Minyan at Kleiner in person only. And at 10:45, there will be a Shabbat morning service here on Jefferson Highway. And it's also going to be on YouTube. The service will be followed by a Kiddush luncheon. And then at 8 p.m. tomorrow, there will be a Havdalah hosted by the Saxys, and that will be on Zoom. Links for all of these events were sent out in the weekly email yesterday. Please let us know if you need any of the links. This Sunday, May 1st, from 9:30 to noon is our magical Mitzvah Day, and that will be during Sunday school at the Kleiner Avenue location. Also, this Sunday at 1 p.m. in person at Jefferson Highway here, the Jewish Book Club will be discussing The Art of Resistance, My 4 Years in the French Underground by Justice Rosenberg. Mr. Rosenberg was well into his 90s when he wrote this gripping memoir about the escape from the occupied Poland in the 1930s and ended up in the French resistance during World War II. Israeli folk dancing will be this Sunday, May the 1st, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Kleiner location. And Yom Hatzmaut, Israel Independence Day will be celebrated at the Louisiana Governor's Mansion on Thursday, May the 5th at 6 p.m. Advance registration by Monday, May 2nd is required to attend. There is no charge. The registration link was also in this week's email. Next Friday evening, May the 6th at 6:30, is going to be our Confirmation and Youth Shabbat in person and on Zoom. Please join us as we celebrate the young people of our congregation. There will be an Oneg Shabbat hosted by the families of the confirmation class afterwards. There will be a congregation meeting Thursday, May 26th at 6:30 p.m. here at the Jefferson Highway location. Everyone should receive a letter in the mail with proxy information and a proxy form with the correct date. An email with the Zoom link will be sent out prior to the meeting. Only with your help are we able to resume Oneg Shabbats after Friday night services, as well as Kiddush, after Shabbat morning services. If you are available, please call either office to help with any of these. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. In case you didn't know, Heather is on the board of the new congregation, so thank you for doing this tonight. As you can see, nothing is happening on Sunday. It's sort of a day long of events. And in addition to that, if you want to attend virtually the URJ Summit, that also begins on Sunday at noon. So it's a full day of choices depending on what you would like. And also, next week, the confirmation and youth service is 6:30 and not 6 o'clock. So, get that in your head. 6 o'clock will be photographs of the family, and that will be at Kleinert. And so please do join us and support those young people. So our closing song is a quick Oseh Shalom. This one is Michael Hunter Oakes. We always call it Raymond's because that was a young man who used to sing it when my first pulpit, where as the assistant rabbi, he was a young man and a sort of boy soprano, and now he's their cantorial soloist on Shabbat morning when there's not a bar bat mitzvah.
And he's no longer a boy soprano.
No, he's not. He's grown up. This has been since 2007 and 9.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu. Yaseh Shalom, yaseh Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu.
The soprano.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat
We will
Shalom.
do Kiddush and Motzi in the foyer. John, can you get the glove out of my drawer in my office
Yes.
for me? Thank you. Good Shabbos to everyone. It's so nice to see so many people.